Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Tuesday review of the great TOS, or as we all like to call it, the original Star Trek series. Welcome. I am Mikey, and of course, this is MikeySuzeFour channel. As you all reached it today and then said, "Hi, what's up?" Anyway, wife is out getting some last minute stuff. Okay. The reason I'm starting this 10 minutes early is I wanted to give you guys some important information this week. We have a lot of things going on. And so by the time we reach Friday, we're gonna be so tired that we're probably not gonna do much at all over the weekend. But I will get to that later. Okay. But what I want to let you folks know is tonight is a special cigar lounge for Gorilla. We're going to celebrate the life of one of our friends who passed at the age of 91, not 95. So I will make that correction. Larry was gracious enough to provide me with that. Beers of Adventures. We lost Pops. His real name was Buck Wise. He was the father, the last parent of our friend Patrick. And you can guess what his last name is. Um, Patrick and his wife Amber are going through a lot of tough times right now. That is something they want to keep private. But what they did share with us was that Buck had passed away on Sunday night, sometime after 6 o'clock in the evening, their time Pacific Coast. So that would have been about 9 o'clock here on Sunday. So I feel like I've lost another family member because Patrick and his family were all a part of our Fournier, Duran, and Sorman families. He was an important part. He was the best friend of my brother. He is the best friend of my brother, Philip. So Philip has Patrick. I have Larry. That's really how it is. They are our best friends, and they are also our brothers, and they are members of our family, extended family. They're all a part of it. And losing Buck was huge because uh, this is another family relative that has no parents. My wife, I told you about Suzanne before. By the time she reached 18, she had no more parents. Her mother had died when she was about 7, and then about 11 years later, her dad died. So she had no parents, no other relative. Well, she had a sister, but the sister was a big ass, bitch, whatever. So, I mean, basically she had no family. She was on her own, and she had to learn, and she went through 4 different guys who treated her like shit. And I don't mind saying shit, okay? I don't mind saying that today because today is just going to suck. Mark Carney is now back, and he is the liberal leader of Canada. We are all freaking screwed. We are freaking screwed. Um, I know for certain this week I want to get my Canadian ID because even though I've got a moronic PM who's running the country, I still want to say that I'm a proud citizen of this country and a nationalist. Now, I'm very patriotic most of the time when I can be. And in the United States, I was very patriotic. Yes. And I did my civic duty. I voted. I had blood drawn. I did all this other stuff. I did it for the president and for the country. And that's it. I did it so I could know. And I went into the Navy. Of course, it didn't work out, but I was happy with that. I was happy that I actually served. And one of these retired admirals who fought in the great, World War II in the Pacific theater told me that even though I was only in the Navy for a short time, I was still considered a veteran. So to this day, I'm a veteran of the United States Navy. And I'm proud of that because I say I could serve, and I did. So, salute to all you naval men and women out there and all you military forces who are serving our countries and dying for them, living for your families and everybody else, and including your presidents, your queens, your kings, and whoever you serve. To all of you, I salute you. Okay. So here's what's going on this week. So we have the Scar Lounge special tribute to Pops tonight. I hope it is a special tribute, but of course we'll be talking about the Carnage, which is Carney. So that too. And then Wednesday morning, very early Wednesday morning, mark this on your calendar if you wish. But at 1 o'clock in the morning, I will be doing the 2 episodes I do each week of Get Smart, the review. The only thing is that it's going to be at that time because Suzanne and I, we have a date night. We're going out Wednesday, and I don't care what time we come back. Now, um, if we do come back in a good amount of time, I will still do my 10:30 p.m. Uh, JAS Live, my first experimental stream with my friend PvP. We'll also have Larry to be there. It's going to be a select panel, okay? So don't feel bad if you don't get invited up, but it's a very select panel. We're going to be talking about uh, two different shows. Uh, by the way, which I need to download, but I'll do that later. Two different Star Trek fan films, which really define what Star Trek is about and how it should, excuse me, and how it should be made. And that is Prelude to Axanar, and the other one is called Unification. And the Unification one by Otoy, that's Otoy, is very unique because it happens on Viridian 3. Now, Kirk has died at the hands of Foley and Soren, and by mistakes of Captain Picard, Jean-Luc Picard, and so uh, we know that when Spock died, he appeared to uh, Kirk. Apparently, according to Otoy's estimation, they did appear to each other in the Nexus. But now, while that happened, it was in a dream because Kirk can, or I'm sorry, Spock can reach another form of consciousness, so he can sense where Kirk is, and he heard about his death. So after his encounter with him in the Nexus, he goes to Viridian 3 and he goes to his gravesite, and he mourns. His true half-human side shows itself out. And I mean, it's beautiful. It really is. It's truly an interesting concept. But Prelude to Axanar is also very good. I've seen it at least twice. I think that it's what, without spoiling anything, because we're going to probably talk, like I said, talk more about it on Wednesday. But without spoiling anything, it's probably one of the closest fan films that you could ever get. It's not very long. I think it's like about 20 minutes long or so. But it's as close as you'll get to making a perfect Star Trek episode from the older times, which was made in newer times. And I really think it's good. I think it's very good. And so, yeah. So what we'll do is sometime later today, I will download. And Scott and Eli, if you're listening, yes, I will invite you guys to come be with us on the special panel on Wednesday night. And we'll send you each a copy of that so that you guys can check it out. Okay, so that's the special because normally we do that on Saturday afternoons at 1, but there is so much else. There's so much else going on this weekend. I don't even want to really get into it. I do know that Larry's going to be out of town. I do know that he's going through a really tough time right now, an extremely tough time. So I want to say prayers for him when we do our prayer at the end. And I know that Gorilla's going into the cities. He's going to go visit his parents. I think some other people. So there's a lot going on this weekend. I know we've got nothing going on in this building this weekend, but I don't know if I'll try my best to hook up with Sifdan for his normal 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. his time show, and I will also try to hook up with Miss Charlotte Nightstar. But there's no Waltons this week, so make sure you folks know that there's no Waltons. Okay, no review because um, Gorilla is going to be Censor Thoughts. He's going to be out of town for 2 days. He might be back Thursday to do the next segment of the Terminator trilogy or Terminator franchise, which is, I believe, Salvation. He might do that if he gets home in enough time. If not, it'll just be postponed. We'll move it to another time. But believe me, folks, after this week, everything should go back to normal. Yeah. Oh, and Thursday. So Thursday, we're going to meet a special friend that's coming in from the United Kingdom, and we're gonna, hopefully get to meet her at the airport. We'll hang out, do a little bit of talking back and forth, just some good conversation with someone who's on the other side of the computer. So that should be fun. We're gonna do that Thursday. So Thursday, if you don't get an A-Team review, 2 episodes, don't worry. I may just decide to move them to Friday. Yeah, yeah. Well, since there's no Waltons, I guess I could move them to Friday. So let's do that. So this Thursday's A-Team reviews, 2 episodes, we'll move it up to Friday at 1 p.m. instead of Thursday. That would be a lot better. Yeah. So let's just do that. That'd be good. Okay, so we'll do that Friday. That way we'll cover the whole week, and that is my favorite, episodes to do is the A-Team ones. Yeah. Okay, so the one episode we have today, and we have nobody yet, but it's just after 1 now, so nobody's missing anything. We've only been on here for 11 minutes, so we're fine. Okay, so let's go to TOS's episode this week, which is called Tomorrow is Yesterday. Yay, that's where the Enterprise runs into a damn solar storm and ends up back in the 1960s, or at that time, current Earth. Yeah, a lot of fun that episode. First time that I think we get to deal with serious time travel. Mm-hmm. Yes. It's interesting, right? How fast, we're talking this episode came out in early January of 1967. Okay. All right. So it has been, counting back in the years here, it has been 48, 2025. No, it's been more than that. 58. Yeah, 58 years, because I turned 60 this year. Yeah, so 58 years it's been since we first started talking about serious concept of time travel. Yeah, in Star Trek. And I mean, interesting. And I was like, okay, so they got caught in the time period that the episode was being made in the 60s. And, it's about this, pilot. And goes up there because he thinks it's a UFO. Right. Back in the mid 60s, people were still worried about UFOs. They kept seeing them in the skies, flying around. Some people had some close encounters with them. Some people actually got abducted by aliens. It was a whole hullabaloo. Oh, perfect. I gotta use that word for another time. Hullabaloo. Okay, so it was a whole big hullabaloo, right? Woo! Everything just went nuts. And this was the time that people also were worried about the Cold War because Russia, of course, had some nukes. We had nukes, and people were freaking out, because, if there was something identified wrong, which why they called it UFOs in the first place, and now they're known as unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs, go figure. And all that time we only came up with from UFO to UAP. Yeah, right. Anyway, so the point is that during the Cold War, we were freaked out. We didn't know what was going to happen. And of course, the war over there in Vietnam was going badly. It was going very badly. And the United States didn't know what to do because they were just, for the first time, the United States was caught in a war they should have never got involved in, that they never should have done anything with. And yet, people were, good, honest military people, kids that were probably less than 17, were going over there and getting killed, by the Viet Cong and all those North Vietnamese people. And I just like, well, what else could you do? You were fighting for your country, you thought, but there was just a lot of other concepts which made no sense. You had the hippies in San Francisco who were starting their thing, their movement. My parents at the time, they had just had me less than 2 years earlier in 65. My brother wasn't even a concept yet. He wasn't even born until September of 67. So, 8 months down the line, my mother was pregnant with my brother. And this TV show was on, this episode. Amazing, huh? All that time you had no idea what was going on, and then you were watching this thing. And hello, we got one lurker. Hello, welcome, welcome. You are most welcome. You can lurk all you want. We welcome you anyway. We accept you. You're there. Okay, but let's get to the episode. I don't know how much material we have, but as you know, I'm not going to read a whole bunch. I'm just going to, whatever the basic concepts are. Okay, so tomorrow is yesterday. This is considered season 1, episode 19. The Enterprise is thrown back in time to 1960s Earth. It has a 7.9 out of 10, which is basically a B grade. I gave it a B grade because I thought it is one of the better episodes of season 1. Not the greatest one, but it is still a good episode. So, like Arena was last week. So I gave it a B instead of a B plus. I like Arena a little bit more, but this one was just as good. So I gave it a B grade. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. And we will take a look at the guy who plays Captain Christopher. Okay, so the director was Michael O'Herlihy, and over 4,600 people have seen the episodes. Like I said, they gave it a high 7.9 out of 10. I gave it an 8 out of 10 or 4 out of 5. So I definitely gave it a B grade for myself. The writers were Gene Roddenberry and, of course, DC Fontana, that awesome woman. So that's why this episode was so good. DC Fontana was back then considered one of the best young writers in the Gene Roddenberry cadre. She did a great job. Okay, so Roger Perry was the actor who played Major Christopher. So we're going to examine him today. And let's see. It featured in this episode Shatner, Nimoy, and Kelly. Also in it was Scotty. There was Takei. Was Sulu. Let's see. Nichelle Nichols as Uhura, of course. Okay. Majel Barrett, of course, was the Enterprise computer voice, uncredited, but that was cool. All right. The other person I'd like to take a look at besides Roger Perry is Ed Peck. And Ed Peck was Colonel Fellini. He was hit by a nice right to the jaw by William Shatner. So let's talk about him. All right, cool. So let's see. Let's go into trivia. Okay. Captain Christopher is given the tunic of a full lieutenant, the naval equivalent of his Air Force captain rank. The episode originated from a one-page story synopsis. Associate producer Robert H. Justman submitted to Gene Roddenberry on April 12, 1966, for possible consideration. Although almost beat for beat, Justman's proposed story is the same as this episode. Roddenberry never acknowledged Justman as the source or paid any royalties to him for the idea. Captain Kirk says the first moonshot was in the late 1960s. This was the first prediction of the correct decade of this accomplishment in a major science fiction work. Previous motion pictures and television series put the first lunar mission sometime in the 1970s at the earliest. The Enterprise crew intercepts a radio report that the first manned moonshot will take place on Wednesday. Apollo 11 was launched nearly 2 years after the filming on July 16, 1969, a Wednesday. And this premiered on Thursday, January 26, 1967, the day before the tragic Apollo 1 fire of January 27, 1967, which killed 3 astronauts, including one of them, Gus Grissom. Yeah. Okay, there's 42 more bits of information, but I'm not going to go through that. As I told you, if it's less than 5, I'll go through it. If it's more than 5, I just won't do it. I just want to give you some of the basics. But I will give you the spoiler. So I'm sure there's a few spoilers. Okay. And yes, there's about 4 of them. I'll try to read through them as fast as I can. So remember, if you have not seen this episode, which it is available on YouTube in bits, it also is available on Paramount Plus. So tomorrow's yesterday. So make sure you put your hands over your ears, and when I'm ready, and when the 4 spoilers are done, I'll just go like that. Okay? All right. Here we go. This episode marks the only time 2 individuals have been transported into themselves. In this case, their past selves. Captain Christopher was beamed into his body at the time he first saw the Enterprise, and the police sergeant just before he enters the records room. After the Enterprise has pulled away from the sun and is careening away through time and space, Kirk overrules Scotty's warnings about engine braking. Later, when Scotty and other engine room staff are being tossed around, Scotty struggles to the comm console and yells into it, "Bridge! The engines are buckling! Bridge! I am Scotty! Bridge! The engines are buckling! Bridge!" and gets no answer. Meanwhile, on the bridge, things settle down, and all Kirk can say is, "Mr. Scott is still with us." It's most curious because the engines didn't buckle. Mr. Scott's emergency call to the bridge apparently went unheard, and Kirk was never aware that anything critical might have been going wrong. Hi, baby. I'm just in the middle of my show. Spock's explanation to Kirk about what could happen if an unscrupulous man had knowledge of the future, which is what would have happened if Christopher had been immediately returned, later coincidentally became the story premise for the episode Future's End in 1996 from TNG, and to a lesser degree, a matter of time from 1991. And another first season TOS episode would explore an even darker side of the concept in The City on the Edge of Forever with Joan Collins in 1967. Interesting possible coincidence. In this episode, they find out that Major Christopher will have a son, who later becomes famous. So Major Christopher must be returned to his own time. In the Twilight Zone episode 100 Yards Over the Rim in 1961, it is traveler Christopher Horn who finds out his son will become famous, so he must return to his own time with the penicillin to cure his son. Oh, that is so cool. All right, let's take a look at the goofs. Okay. All right, first there's continuity. Captain Christopher is seated in his jet fighter. When he's beamed on board, he is standing instead of being still in a seated position. Roger Perry's character is consistently referred to as Captain Christopher and wears the insignia of an Air Force captain on his uniform, but the credits list him as Major Christopher. When the F-104s are initially scrambled, the 2 aircraft shown taxiing from revetments are armed with AIM, or air into missile. Well, I know what it means, but AIM-9 missiles on the wingtip stations. However, the aircraft shown taking off is clean. Kirk orders the transporter room to beam up Captain Christopher as an emergency because his plane is breaking up. However, Kirk makes it to the transporter room before Christopher has even fully materialized. The transporter room has always been a good distance from the bridge, as seen in Let That Be Your Last Battlefield episode in 1969. There is no way Kirk could have made it there that quickly. It's possible that Kirk could have used the same trick as he did in Wolf in the Fold in 1967 and held Christopher in stasis in the transporter beam, but he gave no such order to the transporter crew. As Captain Christopher is approaching the Enterprise, the chin strap is alternately fastened and hanging free. And there are 2 more. When Christopher is in his jet and looking up and forward towards the Enterprise, there are clouds in the sky. When the camera view is on Christopher looking aft, the sky is a different color blue and there are no clouds. And finally, when Captain Kirk meets Captain Christopher in the transporter room, Kirk is speaking with Christopher. A moment later, Kirk takes a few steps and then speaks with Christopher again, but the exact same camera position is used, showing the scene was not filmed in sequence. Okay, there's a couple of factual errors. In the original, not remastered version, the Enterprise leaves Earth orbit and slingshots around the sun to achieve time warp. However, the shots of the Enterprise exterior shows the ship passing several other stars as it moves through space. There are no stars between the Earth and the sun. Captain Christopher is assigned to Air Defense Command and clearly shows an ADC qualification level insignia on the left sleeve of his flight suit. However, the stock footage of F-104s used on screen shows aircraft with markings from Tactical Air Command. Also, Christopher's flight suit is an overwater suit, and he intercepted the Enterprise over Nebraska. The actor's costume should have been a sage green K-2B flight suit, reflective of location and mission. Air Force security wore their berets with the flash patch almost, if not all the way, over their ear when it should have been over their left eye. And during the slingshot attempt around the sun, the speeds the characters talk about are impossibly fast. For example, if the Enterprise were traveling at warp 8 between the sun and the Earth, it would overshoot the Earth by millions of miles within minutes. Yet the elapsed time between the sun and the Earth is clearly about the speed of light, even though the ship is supposedly traveling much faster. And the two guards outside the darkroom have non-regulation haircuts. Okay, there's 8 more, but let's get to the spoiler. Okay. And the spoiler says, it is stated that the 2 unwanted passengers will be returned to a point before they saw or heard anything. Although the transporter is pure fiction, the simple physics of the human body are not. Captain Christopher is seemingly returned at the exact instant he was originally beamed up, but the air sergeant is beamed back well before he heard Kirk and Sulu in the photo lab. This means his current body, thank you, my beloved, this means his current body would have been beamed inside his past one, instantly doubling its mass. This would result in his body literally exploding. Okay. All right, and now we're into incorrectly regarded as goofs, but before we get to that, hello, Charlotte Nightstar the Werewolf. First in the box, and she gave us our first like. Thank you, Charlotte. Ahoo! It's good to see you, hun. Thank you for being here. I appreciate that. Wife brought home some food. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, so she brought home some food, some nice little treats. My wife is awesome. Mwah. Okay. Ooh, she got the focaccia bread too. Awesome. I love that stuff. I don't know if you folks have ever tried Italian focaccia bread. It is a like pizza bread type substance. It is so good. Gotta tell you. Let's see. Okay. So incorrectly regarded as goofs. When the pilot is beamed aboard, Spock calls the transporter room to ask Kirk if he wants the tractor beam turned off. After the pilot's plane disintegrated, it would be totally unnecessary to leave the tractor beam activated. Spock would know that the next logical procedure is to turn it off, but Spock might be concerned about falling debris and thus ask for orders. The Air Force Air Police are armed with unusual grips on their duty weapons. The guards are wearing the Air Force shield and dressed as SAC elite guards. Unique to the guard was a distinctive blue beret with the SAC crest and a bone-handled, chrome-plated Smith & Wesson 38 caliber revolver in a cross-draw holster. The Enterprise is shown traveling across the sky in Earth's atmosphere. The Enterprise would not be able to do this since it does not have the aerodynamic ability to fly through the air as an aircraft would do. Okay, here's the spoiler. 2 of them. When the ship travels back in time, the air security guard and Captain Christopher's memory is affected, but no one else's is. Christopher's memory is affected because he was transported, but the Enterprise crew's memory would remain the same since their bodies were not transported. Now, as soon as Captain Christopher is beamed aboard and his jet destroyed, the timeline would have changed. Therefore, the records that Spock refers to that tell of a future son of Captain Christopher's would not have existed in the new timeline. However, several later Star Trek productions established a rule of time travel, where people and objects standing close to the time travel mechanism are unaffected by the alteration. This may not be scientifically sound, but it is accepted Trek custom. Okay, so there goes the spoiler for that. All right, we have 2 revealing mistakes. In the first scene on the Enterprise bridge, The computer screens above Uhura's station are clearly made of paper. The paper screen is not pulled tight, and there are obvious folds in it. When the air sergeant is holding the equipment belts, both of the communicator props are seen with their cover and antennae hanging open. Since this activates the unit, the Enterprise would have heard everything. Additionally, when the communicator beep is heard, both units are still on the belts. In the next shot, he's holding one in his hand. Okay, then we have a miscellaneous goof. When the Enterprise is clearly in Earth's troposphere, the heaviest, densest atmosphere layer, it's said to be in orbit. Orbital speed is 4.7 miles per second or 7.5 kilometers per second. Errors in geography. Okay. The Enterprise is shown orbiting 1960s Earth. If you look at the shot of Earth, the continents appear to be reversed. Wow. That's a big plot hole, which we're coming up on. F-104 starfighters like the one piloted by Captain Christopher were never stationed in Nebraska. Had the Omaha location needed to scramble fighters, they would have been F-102s from Grandview Air Force Base in Missouri. When Kirk and Sulu are prowling the base in Nebraska, the door to the computer center reads 498th Air Base Group. There is no record of such a command in the United States Air Force in 1967. The closest would be the 498th Nuclear Systems Wing, which was stationed at Kirkland Air Force Base in Albuquerque, New Mexico. This unit was deactivated in 2012. All right, and there's a few plot holes. And like I said, bear with me. There's a lot of information here, but we'll try to get through it. Okay, so Captain Christopher states that he turned on my wing cameras. I got close enough to take some pretty clear pictures of you. Air Defense Command will be processing that film fast. And indeed, Kirk and Sulu transport down to the airbase to try to retrieve the film. But since, according to Spock, the aircraft completely broke up, the film and wing cameras would have fallen to the Earth as debris, and recovery of the film would surely have taken a long time, as it would have required a massive search over a large area, if its recovery was possible at all. Spock states that Captain Christopher's disappearance would not make a significant difference because he's made no historically relevant contribution. A person doesn't have to be historic for his disappearance to change history. As a USAF pilot, his going missing would generate nationwide media attention. Among the countless scenarios of what could happen, most importantly, his family would be affected the most. The crew of the Enterprise discovers an easily repeatable maneuver to accurately travel both backward and forward in time. If this were truly the case, then time travel wouldn't be as risky and unusual as it is repeatedly shown to be in the Trek universe. The Air Force security officers, oh God, I'm trying to read it here. Okay, the Air Force security officers who discover Kirk and Sulu are all wearing sidearms. However, while they have plenty of opportunity to draw their weapons, they choose to fight in hand-to-hand combat. Yeah, so that should have been security officers. Somebody just forgot to put a letter R in there, but that's okay. I know. Spell check a freak show myself. All right. There are security alarms for the photo lab, but not the statistical service section. That's weird. Okay. And it says here there would be no need whatsoever for Kirk and Sulu to risk collecting the computer tapes. They could have beamed down with a handheld magnet and scrambled them. And then Major Christopher and the Air Force and the Air Police Sergeant will be beamed back to themselves before the incident takes place. Therefore, they will have no memory of the incident. Obviously, then, there would be no film record of the incident. Therefore, there was no need to beam them down to the base to retrieve the film. Okay, here's a spoiler. Couple of them. Wow. There's a lot of information in goofs today. Okay, after the sergeant is placed back after correcting the timeline, he goes to check the records room, and the door is disturbed from Kirk and Sulu's invasion, which has not happened yet and will never happen in the new timeline. When Kirk and Sulu first entered the Statistical Services Division office, they have to use a sonic device to unlock the door. After the sergeant is beamed back into himself on the return trip, he opens the should-now-be-locked door without a key. The Enterprise makes a single slingshot around the sun and goes backward in time to return Captain Christopher and the sergeant, then go forward to their own timeline. The Enterprise would need to make a second slingshot around the sun to go forward to their own time. And there's no point in having Captain Christopher on the bridge for the final view of space prior to being sent back in time to his plane. Both Kirk and Christopher know that Christopher will not remember anything after he's returned to his plane. All right, there's a couple of goofs where there's a boom mic visible. Just after Kirk orders Uhura to contact Starfleet and inform them of the Black Star, he walks over to talk with Spock. Just behind Spock's right shoulder, left side of the screen, the shadow of a boom mic can be seen above the status displays. And then Spock and Dr. McCoy are in the transporter room when Kirk and Sulu are on the surface. A large boom mic shadow appears directly next to Spock's head, well inside the frame. The shadow then visibly moves up and out of the frame. Okay, and here's a couple of character errors and a spoiler. So we'll try to get through these as fast as we can. Remember, I'm not doing quotes, so this is why I like reading about the goofs more, because then this way you folks will have a better understanding of the episode. So, all right. In the character error department, in Requiem for Methuselah in 1969, Spock, during a mind meld, can order someone to forget. It is unclear why he didn't meld with Captain Christopher for this purpose. Captain Kirk introduces Mr. Spock to Captain Christopher as Lieutenant Commander Spock. Spock's rank throughout the entire series is Commander, not a mere Lieutenant Commander. Here, he is wearing the rank insignia of Commander, 2 full bars. In the discussion of the slingshot around the sun, Spock refers to seeking out the sun's magnetic attraction. The magnetic force, while much stronger than gravity, is only affected over a short range, and it is actually the gravitational force of the sun that is used. In the first meeting with Kirk, Spock, and Christopher, Spock says Captain Christopher made no relevant contribution. Later, when Christopher is on the bed in sickbay, Spock says he must be returned, and Christopher asks why, saying Spock said he made no relative contribution. Relevant and relative are two different words with two different meanings. When Kirk jokes with the Air Force colonel that he is a little green man from Alpha Centauri, he mispronounces the last word as Centauri, with the stress on the second syllable. When Captain Kirk and Major Christopher first get into the turbolift to go to the bridge, the captain states that the Enterprise is in this time period by mistake, and Major Christopher says, "You seem to be having a lot of those." This is the first admission of an error by the Enterprise. There is no way that Christopher could know of any other mistakes. However, he could have been referring to hearing that his plane broke up with Kurt's admission, "I didn't know your craft could stand up to our tractor beam." When Spock said that he made an error, McCoy called it a historic occasion. However, in the Galileo 7 episode, back in 1967, Spock also made an error, and McCoy commented on that as well. So this error wasn't historic. Okay, and finally, there is one final spoiler regarding this. When Captain Christopher is about to be beamed back in time to his plane, Kirk sends him to the transporter room. Once there, Captain Kirk calls to the room to check if Christopher is ready. Captain Christopher walks over to the console and knows exactly what switch to throw on the board to speak with Kirk. Being unfamiliar with the ship, he should have not known how to operate equipment on the Enterprise. Okay, cool. All right, as I said, I don't do quotes. Let's check the soundtrack. Should be the same. Yep, they do the theme by Alexander Courage at the beginning and the closing of the episode. All right, and we'll take a look at film and production. Okay. As we know, everything is filmed at Desilu Studios. They're in Culver City, California at 9336 West Washington Boulevard. And the film dates for the episode was from November 28th, 1966 to December 5th, 1966. So very cool. Oh, and wow, the chat exploded. Ah! Okay. So Tim from, also known as FKHC 2005, says, "Rest in peace, Canada." Yeah, I wish I had taps right now. I could play it for our country. Lockdown and says, I've been banned from YouTube again. Yay! Oh, doesn't take much these days. What's going on? Oh no, Lockdown, and that's never a good thing. Well, temporary ban, except from lives. I'm such a bully. Tim says it would be Offutt Air Force Base, by the way. Uh, right, which is south of Omaha. Yeah, Offutt, right. Oh, Canada, why you no elect good person? Because it wasn't an election, it was a selection. Right. Little Castro must be pissed. He was replaced by someone the same but worse? Absolutely. It was definitely worse. Lockdown, you may not recognize the Canada that you knew at one time. It is totally different now. It's going to be totally different. Yeah. And we're all in trouble. So, let's see. Okay. So it's good to see you guys. Appreciate you all being here. Alrighty, so let's take a look at the two people I wanted to check today. One was Roger Perry, who played Major Christopher, and one was Ed Peck, who played Colonel Fellini. So we'll take a look at, because I think he was one of the heads of the base, so that's why I wanted to check him. Okay, unfortunately, we did lose Roger Perry back in 2018. He was an actor. He also worked on some soundtracks. He was the age of 85. So May 7th, 1933, he was born, and he died July 12th, 2018. Yeah, unfortunate. Anyway, fresh-faced, blue-eyed, all-American-looking Roger Perry was discovered by Lucille Ball. Wow, cool. And signed as a Desilu contract player, beginning his screen career in anthology television. An early chance for stardom came his way as the junior half of a father and son lawyer firm. The other half of the duo was played by Pat O'Brien in Harrigan and Son in 1960. A busy and versatile actor who had more talent than he was perhaps given credit for, Perry popped up in diverse genres throughout the 1960s. Okay, these are just a few things he's known for. So besides the Star Trek episode, in 1963 to 64, he was in 29 episodes of a TV series back then called Arrest and Trial. He played Detective Sergeant Dan Kirby in that. Then in 1970, he did a movie called Count Yorga Vampire. Sounds like a B movie. He played Dr. James Jim Hayes. That was in 1970. And then in 1974 to 1977, he was in 2 episodes of The $6 Million Man. In one episode, he played Charles Colby, and in another one, he played Dr. George Berman. Very cool. The last thing that he starred in back in 2011 was a video. It was a short called Billy Blackburn's Treasure Chest, Rare Home Movies and Special Memories, and it showed him as Captain John Christopher inside the Tomorrow's Yesterday episode from Billy Blackburn. Oh, that must have been cool. I don't know if I ever saw that. All right, let's go ahead and take a look. And last but not least, at Ed Peck. Okay. Yep, Ed Peck did pass away in 1992. He was born March 26, 1917, and he died September 12th. Wow, day after my brother's birthday in 1992 at the age of 75. Ed Peck was born in Brooklyn. He was an actor known for Bullitt. Bullitt is a great film in 1968. He was in The Last Unicorn in 1982, and of course Star Trek. He was married to Phyllis Ann Houston, and he died in L.A. on that September of 1992. Okay. So in Bullitt, I believe that was the one with Steve McQueen. He played the role of Westcott, Westcott, in 1968. In 1978, he was in Heaven Can Wait, and he was a trainer. He was one of the angel trainers in that. And that was cool. That was the one with Warren Beatty. Then he was in The Last Unicorn in 82, Jack Jingley, and he was Cully's men's voice. Nice. And the last thing he worked on, 1983, he was in it looks like a movie called Likely Stories Volume 3, where he played the General Powerhouse announcer. Okay, so he did a voiceover on that. Very cool. Alrighty. So let's take a look at the episode for next week, which should be episode 20 of season 1. So let's take a look at that. I love seeing this because, catching the list and see what I can do and, with it and everything. Okay. Cool. So next week is the court martial. Well, it's just called court martial. But Kirk draws a court martial in the negligent death of a crewman. Oh, boy, that is a great episode. I like that one. It's too bad only, 4,300 people or more gave it a 7.4 out of 10. I actually gave that a B+, but we'll get to that next week. So that'll be next Tuesday at 1 p.m. And that came out Thursday, February 2nd, 1967. Very cool. All right. And then after that is the Return of the Archons. Landru. Yeah. Fun. Okay. And hello, Christian Carpenter. Happy Taco Tuesday, everyone. Well, happy Taco Tuesday to you too, sir. Good to see you as always. Okay. So I'm going to take my hat off here because I want to get some breeze on my head. Okay. So I want to thank Charlotte Nightstar the Werewolf, for being here in our chat today. First in the box. Also want to thank FKHC 2005. We know him as Tim. Tim, thank you so much for being here, my friend. Yeah, pray for Canada, okay, folks? That's all I can say. Lock Dannon, thank you, Lock Dannon, for being here. I appreciate you as well. And, of course, Christian Carpenter. Thank you, Christian Carpenter, for popping in and saying hello. We've got 3 likes. We do still have 1 person watching. Very cool, very cool. Okay, so let's say a quick prayer in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Dear Lord, we pray for Canada today. We pray for all of our friends and their families and everybody we know through YouTube and all other forms of social media. The things they're going through, the losses they've suffered around the world, the natural disasters that are going on, earthquakes, fires, tsunamis, volcanoes erupting, you name it. Everything under the sun is going on. Lord, all we ask is that whatever decisions you've made, may they have been, and we all know that they were the best decisions you've made. You've always made the best. So we ask you to watch over our country, protect us from harm. Do not let the evil Trump from the United States try to take over this country. This country belongs as its own entity. It belongs where it is. So we ask for all this, Lord, through also your Son, Jesus, the Holy Spirit, yourself, of course, Lord, and through the Blessed Virgin Mary, who grants wisdom and strength, and, of course, also our patron saints, Saint Suzanne and Saint Michael the Archangel, defender of heaven. For all this we ask and pray. Amen and amen. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Okay, there we go. All right. So, any of you folks, any of you gentlemen or young lady, Charlotte, if you get a chance, rewatch, because I let you folks know I started a little bit early, about 10 minutes early, I think it was. Yeah, around 12:50 p.m. Eastern, just to let you folks know what's going on, because everything's going to change this week, And it seems like lately we've been having a lot of changes, but it's real life. It can't be helped. And, Suzanne and I want to be able to spend the next 2 days, Wednesday and Thursday, and have a good time. We just want to, enjoy ourselves. And, tomorrow will be lunch and a movie, as we always do at the end of the month, when we have a chance to enjoy ourselves. And then on Thursday, we're going to go visit our special friend at the airport. So, all right. So everybody take care of yourselves. We'll see you next week for the next edition of TOS. Of course, Court Martial. That should be a good one. And again, don't forget, later tonight, Wednesday morning, tomorrow on the 30th, around 1 a.m., it might be midnight, between midnight. Let's just say I'm not going to give it the exact time. It'll probably be between midnight and 1 a.m. But as soon as I'm done with Gorilla's special tribute stream tonight to Pops and the Scar Lounge, I will come on and I will go ahead and do our 2 episodes of Get Smart for everybody. Okay? That'll be it. And then, like I said, Thursday, we moved up the 2 episodes of my favorite TV series of all time, A-Team, and I'll be doing the 2 episodes not Thursday, but on Friday afternoon at 1 p.m. Since there's no Waltons and nothing else going on, so that's what I do for Friday. Okay, and I don't do it rarely on Fridays. Oh, and also one last thing before I get to the goodbyes. Here is Murdoch 2. Murdoch 2 right now has 8 votes for him in our latest poll. And most of you, 50% of you have said use him occasionally. 38% of you have said, yes, use this guy all the time, every Thursday. And 12% of you did say, nah, don't use him. So that's okay. But, I don't believe that 12%. I think that might have been Gorilla or somebody giving me a hard time. They have to give the no, just to kind of throw it out. But I do like the fact that I could use them occasionally. I could use them like every other Thursday. You really want to use me? Yeah, I do. Oh, you're insane. No, you're the one who's crazy. Oh no, I'm the weirdo. See, look, Murdoch. See? Oh, I see. Okay, you're a weirdo. I'm crazy. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, we'll use him occasionally for now, but I'll wait till Thursday. Well, no, I'll wait till Friday because I'm doing the 18th thing on Friday instead. So I will wait till Friday afternoon. When we get there, I will go ahead and take a look at the the one poll, and see where we're at, and that will be it. And then I will give you all folks the final results, and then we'll go from there. So Murdoch, you better pray you're going to be able to be on here either all the time or you're just going to be here occasionally. Okay. All right. Well, let's put you back. All right. So, as we like to say for sayings, we always say, Mr. Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune, who always said, and now the aisle is closed. So thank you, Gene. I love you, man. You were a great critic. Movie, TV, anything. Didn't matter. Sorry, Roger. Okay. And then we have Larry, who says, always be yourself, from Be Yourself Adventures. He's going to Universal Studios, California this weekend for some business, so hopefully he'll be all right. I know he's had some terrible, news lately. I won't say what, but from his, appointments. So, prayers up to Larry and his whole family, as always. Prayers up, of course, to Patrick and Amber and the rest of their family for the loss of Pops. We'll be talking about him tonight. And also, let's see what else is going on. Okay, then, of course, my beautiful wife, Suzanne, who says, leave everything in God's hands. Perfect advice. And she is a minister of the Universal Life Church. So she says that special prayers, they're going to work. They're going to work. And then, of course, as I always say, always expect the unexpected. Everybody and everyone all at once. Good piece of advice, I think. I came up with it myself. And as we like to finish our shows with, God bless America. Oh, please, God bless Canada. I've been asking for too much. God bless this beautiful world we live in, because we only live in one. Let's take care of it, okay? Because then eventually when we're done, we can go to heaven and have a better world, but, And, of course, peace from MikeySuzeFour. So on behalf of myself, my beautiful Suzanne, my beautiful cats, Moonpoy, and Deja Vu, who's on my pillow. Take care, everyone. 4 likes. Thank you so much for everything. And we'll talk to you folks, Wednesday morning, right around between 12 a.m. and 1 a.m. for the next reviews of Get Smart. I missed it by that much. Take care, guys and gals. God bless.